छोड़ के गए दूसरे मीटिंग के लिए। कॅमेऱ्याची कॅपॅसिटी ती आहे ना, काय करणार? सांगितलं तर हे दाखवत होतो, ते सगळे आर्मीवाले होते ना, लाल लाल. अरे हाँ सर, भाऊ
हाँ 17. Anything else to add? Mutual funds that become sponsors in the
I have great pleasure in welcoming the members to the 56th annual general meeting of the company. I call the meeting to order. At the outset, I would request all the members to kindly keep your mobile phones in the switch off or silent mode for smooth conduct of the meeting. The company secretary informs me that the quorum is present. Before I take up the agenda of the meeting, let me have the pleasure of introducing the dignitaries seated on the dais. To my immediate left is Shri Sanjeev Singh, is Director of Refineries. Next to him is Shri Debashish Sen, Director of Planning and Business Development. And to my extreme left is Shri A.K. Pandey, representative of the President of India. To my immediate right is Shri Raju Ranganathan, Company Secretary, followed by Shri A.K. Sharma, Director of Finance, and Shri Verghese Cherian, Director HR. I would like to inform that Shri Anish Agarwal, Director of Pipelines, Shri A.P. Sahni and Dr. Archana Mathur, both government directors, are unable to attend the AGM due to unavoidable circumstances. Professor Devang Thakkar has ceased to be the independent director with effect from 14 September 2015. However, I would like to inform that the government has taken steps for appointing independent directors who are likely to be appointed shortly. The notice of the AGM and annual report of the company has been with you for quite some time, and with your consent, I consider them as having been read. Now, I request the company secretary to read the auditor's report on the accounts of the company for the year 31st March 2015.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This independent auditor's report
dear valued shareholders of Indian Oil, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Indian Oil Corporation and its Board of Directors, I once again extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the 56th AGM of the company. I thank you all for sparing your valuable time to be present here and support us at this important meeting. It is the continued support and unwavering trust of the shareholders in the corporation that has enabled us to deliver sustained performance and growth over the years. The notice convening the meeting, the director's report and the audited annual accounts have been with you for some time, and with your permission, I take them as read. The global economy grew by a modest 3.4% in 2014 and is projected to grow marginally lower at 3.3% in 15 and then strengthen to 3.8% in 2016. In 2014, growth strengthened in the advanced economies while emerging economies have been facing a slowdown in growth. More recently, worries related to the health of the Chinese economy have escalated and have been weighing on the global economic prospects, with their most visible impact on emerging market currencies, commodity prices, and equities. A major development during the year was a drastic fall in global crude oil prices, driven by oversupply and weak demand. The global oil supply in 2014 increased by 2.2 million barrels per day to 93.6 million barrels per day as compared to 2013. In comparison, the world oil demand increased modestly by 0.6 million barrels per day to 92.5 million barrels per day in 2014. Boosted by the shale revolution, the US overtook Saudi Arabia as the world's biggest oil producer. The global environment continues to weigh negatively on oil prices in the current fiscal too. Crude oil markets were further pressured by the financial turmoil in Greece, news of Iran striking a long-pending deal with Western powers, which would eventually lead to removal of sanctions and add more supplies, rising US crude oil inventories, rise in OPEC production, and concerns about the Chinese economy. On the Indian economy exhibited strong growth and was an exception to the emerging economies group, which witnessed a marked slowdown. In 2014-15, Indian economy grew by 7.3%, accelerated from 6.9% recorded in 13-14. The year also saw the return of macroeconomic stability, with inflation, trade deficit, current account deficit, and subsidy bills going down. We also witnessed ushering in of major reforms and laying down of the roadmap for other major reforms. In the first quarter of the current fiscal, the GDP grew by 7%, a tad below expectations. The performance of the industrial sector seems to have picked up in the current fiscal as indicated by the latest IIP readings. However, a major slowdown in the growth of exports and imports, depreciation of the rupee, weak agricultural growth, and the recent logjam over reforms have emerged as areas of concern for the economy. Overall, India is better placed as compared to the other emerging economies and is most likely to lead the growth for the group. India is the fourth largest consumer of oil in the world, and around 80% of its domestic consumption requirements are met through imported oil. Declining crude oil prices in the international market, together with decontrol of diesel marketing, impacted the domestic oil sector in a big way. A big drop in oil prices from US $115 a barrel to US $45 between July 14 and January 15 brought much relief to oil importing countries like India. Similarly, decontrol of diesel prices with effect from 19 October 2014 wiped out under-recoveries on hitherto subsidized fuel. During 2014-15, the demand for refined petroleum products grew by a significant 4.2% to 165 million tons. Petrol and LPG registered robust growth, while diesel returned to positive growth rate from negative growth in the previous year. On operational performance, before I go into the company's performance last fiscal, let me inform you all that I'm sure you would all be very happy. With your support and encouragement, your corporation registered the highest profit of rupees 6,436 crore in the industry in the first quarter of 2015-16. Excellent operational performance, better refining margins, and almost full payback of subsidies by the government helped us report over twofold jump in net profit for the April-June quarter of 2015-16. The year 2014-15 has been both rewarding and challenging for your corporation in terms of physical and financial performance. On the one hand, Indian Oil's outgo on crude oil imports, borrowings, interest costs, and gross under-recoveries came down significantly. On the other hand, your corporation suffered inventory losses to the tune of 15,600 crore on crude oil intermediates and products. Despite this, your corporation registered a turnover of 4,50,756 crore and a net profit of 5,273 crore for the full year, thanks to all-round improved performance in the form of record sales, 98.9% refining capacity utilization, and the highest ever pipelines throughput. Gains from petrochemical segment coupled with fiscal prudence and innovative initiatives in crude oil sourcing, which I will detail a little later, helped boost profitability. The corporation had proposed a dividend of 6.6 per share, rupees 6.6 per share for your approval. On the refineries front, your corporation is the largest refiner in India and is adding another feather in its cap soon by completing the commissioning of the 15 million ton per annum Paradip refinery on the east coast. This would not only raise IndianOil's group refining capacity to over 80 million tons per annum, but also enhance its marketing operations and reach in the eastern and southern states. During the year 2014-15, IndianOil's refineries together achieved a crude oil throughput of 53.59 million tons with a capacity utilization of 98.9% as against a throughput of 53.13 million tons in the previous year. They also registered the best ever performance in raising distillate yield, controlling fuel and loss, and lowering specific energy consumption. On the pipelines front, your company owns and operates the largest pipelines network in the downstream sector, spanning over 11,200 kilometers, and is continuously expanding its reach and throughput capacity for competitive advantage. In 14-15, IndianOil's crude oil pipelines achieved 118% capacity utilization with the highest ever throughput of 47.78 million tons as against 45.86 million tons in the previous year. The product pipelines too achieved a higher throughput of 27.9 million tons during the year as against 27.21 million tons in the previous year. The throughput of the company's gas pipeline was also the highest ever. On the marketing front, Indian Oil maintained its leadership position in the marketplace during the year 14-15 too, with a combined sales of 76.51 million tons, including gas, petrochemicals, and exports. Domestic sales at 71.8 million tons grew by 2.5% over the previous year. Your corporation's inherent strengths in bulk consumer business, its reputation as a reliable partner and least cost supplier enabled it to maintain its lion's share of the business, particularly in HSD, despite major policy and structural changes. The corporation led from the front in implementing several far-reaching policy changes of the government during the year. Chief among them were diesel deregulation, PEHL program for direct benefit transfer for LPG, launch of 5 kg subsidized LPG cylinders across the country, extension of availability of BS4 fuels to 24 more cities, and so on. In fact, PEHL was ranked by the Guinness as the largest ever program of its kind ever implemented in the world. Maintaining its lead position in the marketplace, your corporation commissioned 947 fuel stations during the year, including 369 Kisan Seva Kendra outlets in the rural areas, raising their total number to over 24,400. The contribution of KSK outlets to total sales reached a new high of 12.9% in petrol and 12.8% in diesel during the year. With a view to building customer confidence, over 1,600 Indian Oil fuel stations were fully automated during the year. With this, automation has been completed at 42% of your corporation's regular fuel stations. Your corporation strongly supports the use of alternative renewable energy resources, and as on 31st March 2015, 2,663 of its fuel stations have converted to operate on solar energy, with many more to follow. Your corporation continued to maintain its market share in domestic LPG by releasing new connections, augmenting bottling and storage capacities, and expanding the distributorship network, especially in rural areas. With the release of 72.6 lakh new domestic LPG connections, the Indian customer strength rose to 8.88 crore. At the industry level, Indian Oil led the OMCs in implementing PEHL, direct benefit transfer scheme for LPG cooking gas on an all-India basis in less than 100 days. The scheme has won recognition, as I mentioned, as the largest direct cash transfer program for the households in the world. As on date, about 89% of Indian cooking gas customers are cash transfer compliant and receive the government subsidy in their individual bank accounts. Indian Oil's aviation service maintained its leadership position during the year with a market share of 63.6%. On R&D, During the year, your corporation's world-class R&D center at Faridabad took a quantum leap in building its intellectual assets by filing a record number of 92 patents. With the addition of 14 new patents, the portfolio of existing patents expanded to 384, of which 83 are US patents, 151 Indian, and 150 more from other countries. The R&D center developed 125 more lubricant formulations during the year and earned over 60 endorsements from original equipment manufacturers and defense services. While the InMax technology developed by the center is under implementation in a 4 million ton per annum unit at Paradip refinery, significant advancements were also made in demonstration and commercialization of several other innovative refining process technologies developed in-house. A new product, Indian Nano Cut, was also developed during the year for use in metal cutting segment, and we believe that in the future this is going to revolutionize the metal cutting operations. On business expansion initiatives, integration and diversification beyond the domestic petroleum sector, downstream sector has been a major thrust area for the corporation for over a decade now. Significant investments have been made in our petrochemicals and natural gas verticals, which have expanded manifold, both in the scale and operations, to become a part of our core business. The next step is to maximize revenue and profits from them in the coming years. On petrochemicals, within a short period of time, Indian Oil has established itself as the second largest player in petrochemicals in India, with a full slate of products. In fact, the petrochemical business has contributed significantly to the profits of the company during the year 2014-15. Sales, including exports, touched a new high of 2.39 million tons, registering a 17% growth over the previous year. Polymers, the largest segment of the corporation's petrochemicals business, recorded sales of 1.23 million tons in the domestic market, posting a 25% year-on-year growth. Your corporation exports petrochemicals under the brand name Propel to 70 countries. On natural gas, with the environment protection gaining popularity as a worldwide movement, gas is emerging as a cleaner fuel of the future in place of liquid fuels. Indian Oil aspires to provide its customers with the choice of the fuel they want and hence envisages greater presence in gas marketing in the coming years. With a view to fulfilling this aspiration, your corporation is extending and expanding its natural gas business by investing across the gas value chain. Within a decade of taking up gas marketing, Indian Oil has become the second largest non-APM gas seller in India with a market share of 30% in the RLNG segment. During 14-15, despite tough conditions, your corporation achieved a 6% growth in LNG sales. Besides making independent purchases, long-term LNG supplies have been tied up from US and Canadian sources. Your corporation is implementing a 5 million ton LNG import, storage and regasification terminal at Ennore near Chennai with an investment of over Rs 5,000 crores through a joint venture company. The terminal is targeted for completion in 2018, probably the first terminal on the east coast of India. With due emphasis being given to scaling up of natural gas pipelines, your corporation is planning to lay a 1167-kilometer pipeline to reach LNG imported at Ennore to Nagapattinam, Tuticorin, Madurai and Bengaluru. This pipeline, along with 3 other upcoming gas pipelines, Mallavaram Vijaypur, Mehsana Batinda and Batinda Srinagar pipelines, would ensure a significant presence for your corporation in the gas transmission business. Besides serving bulk gas consumers, Indian Oil also operates city gas distribution networks. On the E&P front, your corporation has been quietly building its E&P portfolio over the years and holds participating interest in 10 domestic and 7 overseas assets currently. The overseas blocks are located in Libya, Gabon, Nigeria, Yemen, Venezuela, Canada and USA. The corporation has 3 producing assets abroad, that is the Niobrara Shale project in USA, Pacific Northwest LNG project in Canada and Carabobo project in Venezuela. During the year, the production from these assets increased to 3,299 million barrels of oil equivalent from 1,754 MBOE in 13-14, registering an 88% increase. The proved developed reserves have increased from 1.66 million tons oil equivalent as of 31st March 2014 to 2.18 million tons of oil equivalent as of 31st March 2015, an increase of 32%. On the alternative energy front, during the year, your corporation added 6.3 megawatts of wind power in Andhra Pradesh, thereby expanding the renewable energy portfolio to 74.3 megawatts. This includes wind energy capacity of 69.3 megawatts and solar energy capacity of 5 megawatts. Plans are on the anvil for completion of a 4 megawatt solar power project at Narimanam Marketing Terminal in Tamil Nadu for captive consumption. On the sustainable development front, minimizing carbon, water and waste footprint is a major thrust area of your corporation's sustainable agenda. During the year, your corporation added close to 4.8 megawatts of renewable energy through conversion of some of its fuel stations, installations and office buildings to run on solar energy. The company planted over 50,000 saplings, held 17 carbon neutral events, improved groundwater table by harvesting 27 lakh kiloliters of water through 437 rainwater systems and recycled 11.5 tons of waste paper. On the way forward, in future, let's look at the way forward. With the Indian economy in a robust expansion mode, its momentum driven by manufacturing, infrastructure and service sectors, the demand for oil and gas energy is expected to go up further in the coming years. As the lead enterprise fueling the nation's growth for over 5 decades, Indian Oil believes in building the requisite capabilities, capacities and infrastructure much ahead of demand, with focus on ensuring energy security, optimizing energy use and maximizing energy conservation. In pursuit of this business philosophy, I am confident that your corporation will exceed the capital investment target of 56,200 crore for the 12th plan period, that is during the years 2012 to 2017. In the wake of the recent global developments, crude oil business is gradually turning into a buyer's market. As a major importer of crude oil, which accounts for nearly 92% of its overall costs, your corporation is taking a number of steps to bring down the cost of crude sourcing. The first is the expansion of crude oil basket to include additional grades and diversified sources. The next is optimization of the proportion of the term and spot crudes for prices